Oh, there we go.
Hello, it's January 9th, 2024, I believe. I'm Joe Weston, and we're here for our monthly Global Heart practice.
Hi,
And
Joe.
hey, it's great to see you. It is really exciting to see as we come into the new year, familiar faces that have been part of, we've been doing this practice. We were doing it every week for 5 years, every Tuesday.
Oh,
And now we took a break in the summer, and now we're doing it monthly. And it is just wonderful to see those who have been dedicated and loyal and devoted every week almost for 5 years. And it's exciting to see new faces. And I have to tell you, there are some people here who are so dear to my heart who I haven't seen in 20 years. Paulina, Angel, it's just so lovely to see you all and
yeah.
and to be in community with one another. And from various parts of Europe, various parts of North America, and other parts of the world. And what we're here to do is we're holding space. We come together in community to practice and to hold space in cultivating what we say is a fierce compassion and resilience, so that we can do our best to see ourselves as people who can be of service to what's unfolding on this planet at this moment. And as I've said for years, and I've said in my lectures, actually for the last 50 years, I usually start with the bad news is that all the systems as we currently know them are crumbling. And the good news is that all of the systems as we currently know them are crumbling. And it's an opportunity. And with every opportunity comes deep anxiety and fear and uncertainty. And that's where we can come in. And as I say, what we're doing is we're cultivating skills where we train ourselves to be midwives, doulas, voetvrouw, to be of service for a system that's dying, and to be of service to birth what is emerging, what's already emerging. And I say that often, working with communities and individuals and organizations around the world. There are so many people and organizations committed to global unity and peace and sustainability and global healing. What's unfortunate is that that's not sexy for the media or social media. It's not profitable. But that doesn't mean because we don't see it on social media or the news, it doesn't mean it's not happening. And what we do here is hold space for that. And we use this vehicle called the World Wide Web to create unity, to practice together, to understand what it means to be part of a global system, the global heart. And I just want to set that context. And the way we usually do this is that I start with a little bit of a talk of what's on my heart as a way of setting the context. I then lead you in the practice that we've been doing for over 5 years now in cultivating that fierce compassion and resilience. Then afterwards, we have a time to reflect. What I also think is fun is, if you're open to it, is to just put in the chat what city you're in, what part of the world you're in. I always say, what acupuncture point on the planet are you holding at this moment? And as we do that, I just want to offer some of the things that are on my heart. So we're in a new year, 2024. For myself, I'm feeling that I'm coming out of a 4-year process. It feels like I'm, in some way, for myself, feels like regenerative. It's restoring. Working through my own trauma around being in the pandemic, being isolated, and all that brought on all levels, and feeling a sense of more groundedness and centeredness within myself, and also tracking that with other people. And I think 2024 is going to be a pivotal year for us in different ways. I think this is going to be a year where we have a lot of choices to make. I think that we may see a lot of pain and a lot of strife, And at the same time, I think that within that, there's opportunity for what is emerging to blossom even more. Oftentimes when I'm interviewed on podcasts or talking about my new book, Fierce Civility, since in Fierce Civility, I offer a 6-step pathway to hope, people often ask me, Joe, are you hopeful? And I say, well, I may not be very optimistic, but I'm very hopeful. Meaning that I'm not optimistic that I feel that we are going to see a lot of challenges, not only in the US with an election year, but also what's happening in Europe, elections that just happened in the Netherlands, that's happening throughout Europe, what's happening in the Middle East, the activation that people are having about what's happening in the Middle East and what that's bringing up, a lot of ugliness coming to the surface. I think we're going to continue to see that. And yet I still have hope for what is going to emerge within that and after that. And that's where I feel an obligation to stay as resilient as I can, to cultivate this fierce compassion, to stay as grounded to my highest values and who I am, so that I can be of service in a way that's going to be beneficial instead of adding to the noise. And I just want to, in the last few talks that I've done, like right after what happened on October 7th in Israel, holding space for that, and to say, to just notice my concerns about how people were spinning out around that. And on some level, I feel losing connection with their highest selves and being in a state of reactivity. I'm not judging that as bad. I'm just noticing it in terms of what's supportive for us. I talked about this idea of, are we truly in alignment with what our intentions are? And what I mean by that is that, you've heard me talk about this often, is that, this idea of a global heart, we're a global family. And whether we like it or not, or whether we recognize it or not, we are all interdependent and we are all interconnected. That is just fundamentally a fact. At least I believe that to be a fact. That whether we like it or not, it's happening, especially now with the internet, with social media, with a world economy, with the challenges with the planet and the environment itself, with climate migration. What's happening on the other side of the world isn't just on the other side of the world anymore. It's affecting all of us on some level. And I believe that a lot of the problems and issues we're facing is that many of us aren't recognizing that enough, and their thoughts, their words, and their actions are not in alignment with that fact. And that we can see a lot of shifting happen when we do recognize that and fully not only just hold on to the concept of we are all one, but live from that place and take action from that place. I've told many stories, lovingly stories, where I've just been shocked by people who claim as their teachers or their gurus, who talk about the web of life and how we're all one. And I'll quickly tell you one that I love telling the story because it's just so charming to me, where I was in a beautiful retreat space with a teacher who I had a lot of respect for and was very well known, who was teaching on that we're all one. And literally, he's in conversation and he's saying, you have to realize that we're so connected. We're just one large web. We're all one. And in the process of telling this story, he smashed to death a bug. And I thought to myself, in my cosmology, there's a disconnect there. And again, I'm not judging it. At least I hope I'm not judging it. I'm observing it to say that we all do that. I say charming because on some level, to think about, where do we have power at this moment in what's unfolding on the planet? We may not have power to create a ceasefire on our own. We may not have power to influence governments or policy, but we do have power over how we respond to things. and our own thoughts, our own words, and our own actions. And if you think about it, to me, what's common sense, if we all took responsibility for our own thoughts, words, and actions, it would be a very different planet. So I want to bring that up, and I want us to see, certainly for those who have been doing this practice, where we talk about how do we gain more, the Dutch word is betrokkenheid. What's the English word? More involvement, more connection, more investment in loved ones, strangers, and adversaries. And that my challenge for myself, and I offer that to you certainly who have been doing this practice for a while, what can you do that is different from what you've been doing to be more involved, to be more betrokken, more connected to and committed to not only loved ones, and not only adversaries, but particularly strangers. And we'll see that unfolding in the practice. And I want to bring in, so what does that mean? I've talked a lot about this idea of compassion in action, which for me takes the idea or the concept of compassion or the feeling of compassion. By putting it into action, you're no longer doing compassion, you are compassion. Where you have no effort is needed in your thoughts, words, and actions, where you are just naturally coming from a place of compassion. And many of you heard me say this, that for me was important from my Tibetan Buddhist background, and the definition in Buddhism of love is the desire to make someone happy and acting on that desire. That's love, the desire to make someone happy and acting on that desire. And that the definition of compassion is the desire to alleviate the suffering of others and acting on that desire. So what can we do to actively have more love, be more love, do more love and compassion for ourselves, for those around us, and maybe even for more people that we don't even know? That's what I feel I can be doing. And I can do an inventory of what I am currently doing in the world to do that. And how can I challenge myself to expand that, to increase that capacity? For me, that feels like fun, to do it in a way that works, that doesn't compromise me. And I want to just bring that in, tell another story. Some of you know me from years ago when I was teaching classes, like a long time ago. And I remember doing one class in the 𝗵𝗶 in a small part of Amsterdam, which is, it was a studio where we were doing a class, and it's very residential. And I remembered that in the middle of the class, on a balcony in one of the buildings, a baby was crying. And the baby wasn't just crying, the baby was wailing, screeching. And it didn't stop. And we're sitting in the middle of the class, and I noticed I was distracted. I was trying to focus to stay in the class. I couldn't. What I also noticed is that there were a lot of people in the class who didn't even notice and hear the crying. And there was one woman, some of you may know her, who at some point, tears started running down her eyes. She screeched and got up, ran out of the room to see what was happening with that baby. It was so spontaneous. It was so visceral. It really moved me, and it shocked me in a way that I was like, wow. I bring that up because I want to try to give concrete ideas of what does it mean to be betrokken, to be engaged in the suffering of others, to try to alleviate that. Some people didn't even notice the crying. I noticed the crying and I was distracted, but that didn't compel me to leap out of my chair and do something about it. But this one woman, it did. Again, no judgment, no good or bad, but simply a noticing. And I find that this is important in our time now, where we're finding so many creative and clever ways to justify the suffering of others. well, they're suffering, but my people suffer more. Or they're suffering, but they've got a lot of money, so it's not so bad they're suffering. I mean, and the list can go on and on. And I want to read a quote to you, which really, really was powerful for me, by an 18th century rabbi, Kabbalah rabbi from Eastern Europe, from the Poland-Ukraine area, who was one of the founders of the Hasidic movement. And the Hasidic movement in the Jewish tradition was originally a tradition of joy, of dancing and singing, and of the heart, and of light. And I'm going to read it to you. I didn't get a chance to post it, but I'll read it slowly. And it really inspired me. You should be able to feel another person's pain in your heart. All the more so when many people are suffering. It is possible to know another person's pain and suffering, yet still not feel them in your heart. When many people are suffering, you should certainly feel their pain in your heart. And if you do not feel it, you should knock your head against the wall. You should strike your head, your mind, and your intelligence against the walls of your heart. And that really touched me. And this idea of we can feel the pain of others without having to feel the pain, without having to suffer. We can engage with the suffering of others without suffering ourselves. And I love this idea, at least the way that I see it, the wisdom in that from the Kabbalah and from this Hasidic tradition of joy and heart, is it's the mind and the intelligence that's keeping us from accessing our hearts in a deeper way. So this idea of knock your head against the wall, shake yourself out of rationalizing and intellectualizing and statisticizing the statistics around, around suffering. And you should strike your head, your mind, and intelligence against the walls of your heart. And Mahatma Gandhi says, nonviolence, which is the quality of the heart, cannot come by an appeal to the brain. Nonviolence is a quality of the heart, not the brain. Albert Einstein says, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. The gift is the intuitive mind, the heart, the wisdom of the heart. The servant should be the rational mind. But we've reversed it in our current times. So that's a lot to bring in, but this idea of, what can we do to be more active in this, to take care of ourselves, and to find creative ways to have love and compassion for more beings. And that's that's the practice what we're cultivating here. So I'd like to lead us in that practice. You may have thoughts and your own viewpoints around that after the practice. I would love to hear the reflection of that. But I want to lead you in the practice to take these ideas into the practice. So if you wouldn't mind joining me, I'll guide you through this. It starts with what I call power sit. And that's sitting in a way where your spine is straight without being rigid, where you can feel elongation in your spine to create space, elongating from the back of your neck so you tuck your chin in a little bit, relax your jaw, relax your shoulders, relax your belly. One of the definitions that we use here of resilience is a combination of presence, awareness, balance, and flow. So by sitting in this way, you're cultivating that balance and flow in a more effective way. With this posture, bring your attention now to your center in your lower belly. And if you want to investigate where that is, from my backgrounds, it's approximately the width of 3 fingers below your navel and 1/3 of the way into the body. So you put your fingers together, you place your index finger over your navel, where your pinky resides. That's the width of 3 fingers below your navel. Bringing your full attention to that spot, what I would say is your center of gravity, impulse, gut wisdom, where your personal power resides, and awareness. According to Taoist traditions, your center in your lower belly is how you perceive reality. The middle of your chest, where your heart center is, that's where your consciousness resides. And your brain is simply the transmitter of information in and out. So we're cultivating a deeper level of awareness in your center. From your center, become aware of your contact points, the parts of your body that are touching and connecting with what's under you, the ground, the chair, the cushion. Feeling the sensations, activating the nerve endings there to feel the sensations of gravity pushing you down towards this spot, feeling the stability under you. And as you are feeling that stability under you, allowing yourself to be held, let the ground, the chair support you. It's like a lullaby to your nervous system. You are held. What we're doing with this practice is helping us cultivate a deeper relationship with the present moment, and we're starting with the self. So from your center, your place of awareness, become aware of your physical body. Notice, simply listen, cultivating deeper listening. Listening, learning the vocabulary of the wisdom of the body. From your center, become aware of your emotional body. What emotions are you present to right now? Without judgment, simply let them be there. It's all information. Sensations, emotions. Gather that information. From your center, become aware of your mental body, your thoughts. How are your thoughts in this moment? Not necessarily what are your thoughts, but what's the quality of your thoughts? Are they racing like a train? Are they spacious and generous, tight and judgmental? Now maintaining connection with your core, your personal power. Now bring awareness to your heart, in the heart center in the middle of your chest, where your heart power resides, compassion, respect, connection. From your center and from your heart, become aware of that part of you that has access to something larger than yourself. Whatever that might be, larger than yourself. It could be something spiritual, it could be humanity, it could be love. And from your center and from your heart, connecting to that part of you, become aware of what your connection in this moment is to something larger than yourself. Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. All feelings are welcome. What's your experience now of connecting with the earth beneath you, feeling your stability under you, with yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, and from your heart and center, connecting with something larger than yourself? And with this awareness of yourself from your center and your heart, let that flow out into your personal space, filling your personal space out to your personal boundaries, behind you in all directions. Above you, below you. And now with this awareness of yourself in this present moment, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Building on this present moment with an awareness of yourself from your center and from your heart, keeping your eyes closed, now become aware of your surroundings, the room you're in, acknowledging with gratitude the fact that you have shelter, you have heat, you have things, acknowledging the earth under you, and for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, all the people who have stewarded the land that you are currently occupying, with gratitude. And with this awareness of self and surroundings from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Continuing to build on this present moment, still staying connected to yourself and your surroundings. And now from your center and from your heart, become aware of those in this meditation circle. Those with your mind's eye, seeing those who are currently joining us in the World Wide Web in various parts of North America, various parts of Europe, other parts of the world. From your center and from your heart, connecting with their center and their heart, personal power and heart, and allowing yourself to be receptive and to receive the connection that they offer you from their heart to your heart, from their personal power to your personal power. A heart community with gratitude and honor. And with this awareness of self, surroundings, and those in this meditation circle, from your center and from your heart, take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. And with this awareness of self, surroundings, and those in this meditation circle, expanding your heart's capacity, and from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of all human beings, first beginning with those human beings you would label loved ones. Who arises in your heart? What faces do you see? How many can you hold in your heart right now of people that you label loved ones? How did that impact you? Does that impact your level of open-heartedness, your sense of feeling your personal power in your core? Just from your heart, asking the question or feeling the desire or asking the question, in what ways can I support these people in being happier? and to have less suffering? Just ask the question. You don't need an answer. The answer may arise. They may even speak it to you in words or from their heart. Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. I'm going to change the order a bit for a specific reason from this particular talk we're doing. So now from your center and from your heart, become aware of those people you would label adversaries. Who arises in your heart? What faces do you see? Groups of people. Be honest with yourself. Surprise yourself. How many can you hold in your heart at this moment or bring up in your awareness? How does you connecting with them in this moment influence your level of open-heartedness or your personal power in your core? Adversary could be a family member, could be a politician, could be someone from the past, a neighbor. And see if it's possible in your heart to muster up that same question: in what ways can I alleviate their suffering? In what ways can I bring them more happiness? With no need to come up with an answer. Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. And from your center and from your heart, become aware of those human beings you would label stranger. Who arises in your heart? What faces do you see, or groups of people? And how many of those strangers can you hold in your heart in this moment? What's your capacity? My assumption will be is that for you, there has to be at least 7 billion people that come under that category. Each one of them suffering in a different way. Each one of them desiring happiness. Each one of them desiring to be free of suffering. And how does that influence your level of open-heartedness and your personal power in your core? And in what way can you activate that question with as many strangers you're holding in your heart right now? In what ways can I alleviate your suffering? In what ways can I find ways to make you happy, to bring you happiness? Or simply having the desire for them to be happy, the desire for them to be free of suffering. Just considering that this practice is endless until you can actually actively feel 8 billion people in this practice. Not that you need to. And imagine with now visualizing loved ones, strangers, and adversaries, that simply because you asked the question or held the desire of them being free of suffering, that something in their heart wakes up. Becomes lighter. That joy can flood into their heart even for a moment. Visualizing all human beings with a glimmer of hope in their heart. Rippling out to all creatures on the planet and to the planet itself. And with this awareness from your heart and your personal power and and the investment you've just made in this practice from your center and from your heart. Take a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Now allowing all human beings to flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to those in this meditation circle. Feeling that camaraderie, that connection with those who have just shared this practice with you. An internal thumbs up to them for good job. Let those in this meditation circle flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to your surroundings. With, again, gratitude in the ways that your surroundings brings you happiness and alleviates your suffering. Allowing your surroundings to flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to yourself. And as you connect with yourself, maybe the most challenging part of this practice is to ask yourself from your heart, dear one, to yourself, in what ways can I make you happier? In what ways can I alleviate your suffering? Noticing the benefits of this practice, the effect that this practice has had on you up to this point. And as a way to close this practice, taking one final breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. And this is an important moment, a transition point where you're going to take your practice from the mat or from the cushion or from your chair and slowly open your eyes and to think exactly what you are feeling and experiencing now. How can you walk that into the world? So slowly open your eyes, look around the room, stretch your body, shake your body. Take a look at the little screens, little boxes on the screen to remind you, oh yeah, that's who I'm here with. Wow, it's a groovy bunch of people. So we started with a motivation, we did our practice, and now we get a chance to reflect. So this is an opportunity to unmute and to share what's on your heart. Either to respond to how you're doing or whatever's up for you. What came up for you in the practice also, or what came up for you with the talk I gave. So who would like to share?
I'll share.
Right.
I came into this in a really reactive space, which is very unusual for me these days. And I noticed that my power was not in my core at all.
Mm-hmm.
It moved right up to my solar plexus. And I was just buzzing in reactivity. And as the meditation, as that core work went on, I could feel all that energy just drop into my core. And I felt so much more grounded and so much more able to address, able to communicate what I need to communicate. So it was just a beautiful experience of that. And I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, beautiful work. Thank you. Thank you. Trust that you're trusting the practice and you have a visceral experience of it. That's real wisdom. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No need to raise your hand. Just jump in. And Mariana. You need to unmute.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
I've been doing a global peace meditation for quite a long time now. And I realize here, this is a whole new space for me, of course, that I don't meditate for myself anymore. I don't meditate to feel better. I don't meditate to get more centered. I don't meditate to be enlightened. I meditate for others, to send my love and my peace into the universe as much as I can. And it was very strongly there for me today. It's not about me anymore at all.
Thank you, Mariana. I feel your the compassion in your heart, and thank you for your service to the planet. May I make a suggestion, though? I'm wondering if it can be both and.
Oh, it is. I just don't think of it that way.
Okay.
I love myself and I take good care of myself and treat myself as the golden, precious being that I am.
Okay.
And thank you for that suggestion. I really appreciate it, Joe.
Because we need you vital and healthy. You have so much to contribute.
I am very vital. I'm 80. I'm very vital. I just turned 80. I'm very happy. I mostly live in bliss.
Okay, thank you. Can you teach me how to do that?
Yeah, I can.
I bet you could, yes. Thank you, Mara. So grateful that you're here. So grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, for me, it was the first time. And it's been such a long time that I've seen you, Joe. It was amazing. Of course, the stories that you were telling about the acting class, because I was in there. I don't know if I was in there at that moment. But what is so nice with all of you that you feel getting into the flow of the ease. And if you are in the ease and it's getting stronger, and then you feel stronger, that you can really contribute to the loved ones and to that space around you and make it bigger and bigger. And that's so powerful.
Yeah.
So
beautiful. Thank you, Paulina. Thank you. And I just want to emphasize why it's so important, the practice, is that the way all of you are speaking is that it's going from just an idea to an actual lived experience. And that's what wisdom is. And that experience will never leave your body, and it's always there to come back to. So thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
I had an interesting interaction this morning with someone who came to deliver a newspaper that was not delivered. And he then came back and had an empty cup and said, "Could I have a cup of coffee?" And so I invited him to come in and sit down, and I made him a French press cup of coffee, which obviously was not part of his repertoire. And I had an incredible sense of the connection with strangers and how significant that moment was for both of us. He absolutely radiated the appreciation and my trust for having him come in. I'm here by myself. This is a man in his 60s, and it was all in the spirit of connecting with strangers, Joe.
Yeah.
And I really did want to share it with you, because the cascade effect has been around me ever since this morning at 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Beautiful. Good work. Beautiful.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Golden.
Hey, that reminds me of these YouTube videos I've been watching recently of these two people who walk around in neighborhoods and knock on doors and ask people, can they come in and cook them dinner? And people are generally pretty freaked out when, someone comes to their door and says, can I cook you dinner? but they keep, they keep doing it, and they get someone to say yes. And so they are two, this is relevant, they are two white men in probably their either late 20s or early 30s. And so recently they actually went into Compton and
Wow.
walked around Compton to see if they could get people to let them come in and cook for them. And it's like fascinating what ends up happening. I highly recommend. It's on YouTube.
Wow.
If you, I can't remember names, but if you just Google two guys cook dinner Compton, you'll find it.
Wow. So
It's a beautiful, it's a beautiful connection with strangers. It's really beautiful.
I've got 3 questions, Golden. The first one, are they good cooks? And if the answer is yes, will you give them my address?
Yeah, we keep me and my neighbor want them to come over. We could do a barbecue.
Great. And the third question is, if for our European Sangha group members, would you mind explaining a little bit what Compton is?
Oh, so Compton is an area in South Central Los Angeles. South Central Los Angeles is already a very difficult, economically difficult area. It's an area that is predominated by Black people, and also people of other people of color, but predominated mostly by Black people. Most of the people there are living under some pretty difficult circumstances. There's a lot of gang activity, and Compton is one of the most difficult neighborhoods in South Central, one of the most difficult cities in South Central. And there's an area inside of Compton it featured in the movie Training Day with Denzel Washington. So yeah, it's a very, very difficult area. So to have two, sort of average looking, relatively well-off white guys walking around a Black neighborhood that is poor and dangerous is a pretty crazy thing to do. So yeah, it's a really great episode. Oh, and it looks like someone already found the video and stuck it in the
Vanessa putting it in.
stuck it in the chat. Thank you. Yeah, it definitely is inspiring. And I have to say, like, I don't know that if I would let a stranger walk up into my house. So I really appreciate someone saying, okay, yeah, come on into my house, I'll make you a cup of coffee. But I think about, like, I don't necessarily need to do that, but what can I do? What would it look like for me? So yeah, we could absolutely hang out on my front porch for sure.
Yeah. I want to just acknowledge, thank you, Golden. I want to acknowledge that I don't talk about it enough, and I feel like I'm going to talk about that more this year, is the importance of courage. It's an act of courage to do that. It's an act of courage to be compassionate, to connect with strangers. And there's different levels of courage, of course. To let someone come into your home and make them a cup of coffee, and I think that's part of this practice of the heart, right? Core, heart, courage, is to bring in that quality of the heart as well. And that this year is going to require a lot of courage from us to stay connected to our hearts and our hope. Anyone else want to share? Vanessa just put the quote that I mentioned from the Rabbi 𝗪𝗏.
I hesitated to share this, but all these stories just reminded me of what I experienced this today with the kids 4 years old that I teach. And there were several, I think 2 or 3, just coming into the classroom for the first time. And they were crying, and their parents were outside on the hallway looking through the window into the classroom. And I saw their way of wanting to be there for their kid, but in the other hand, letting go and let it be like it was. So I felt like going to that little kid and sit next to there and just talking, because I just wanted to be next to this little, just coming into the classroom, and talking to this little kid just helped me be the stranger and being less fearful. And through my eyes, I was looking to these parents. And after some talks, I saw that the kid was just, well, having a chance to deal with the emotions and cry, but also calming down. And we just took I work in a Montessori school, so we just put the plants into the front of the window. And in my eyes, I just saw these parents walk out the door with more ease, and this kid was just sitting into this chair with more peace. So I was just glad to be there. That reminded me. So
The power of your heart. It's your power. Thank you.
yeah, it was nice to just.
Yeah. Thank you. So there may be more people, I'm not sure, but I want to make sure to say that what's on something to share on my heart, that we're going through, the Weston Network's going through an interesting transition, that my beloved Director of Operations, Vanessa, who's here, is going to be moving on for other work opportunities. And my tears aren't of that she's leaving. My tears are of gratitude for how well she has loved me in the last year and a half. So raise your hand, Vanessa, or just and let's all just send her some love. She's been so good to me, and she's been so creative, and it's been fun to work with her. And that we bless her for the next steps that she takes. And maybe she'll find time on a Tuesday at 12 noon to join us for this. And also Claudine is here, who's going to be stepping in as my executive assistant. So she's not on camera, but if you can send her some loving.
Hello.
She's saying hello, and she'll be stepping in. So I want to share that in terms of our community. We're in flow. We're in balance and flow. And
we're crying.
And we're crying. Yeah, that's what we do. What we
We're
do.
regulating. We're getting back to parasympathetic.
Is we're regulating the system. And I'm grateful for all of you for showing up. Those of you who have been coming on a regular basis. And for those of you who are here for the first time, we're doing this every month. It's usually going to be the second Tuesday of the month. Next month, February, it's going to be the first Tuesday of the month. But just if you keep looking at the website, joeweston.com, we've already announced the events through April, so you can put that in your book. It's really great to come on a regular basis. You begin this you see the practice really working you. It's a great way to connect with I think amazing people. And if you think of it, just think of one or two people that you think would appreciate this kind of group and this kind of practice, and send them along and have them come and check it out. And also keep up, look on the website. You can join our mailing list. If you go on the website, you can get on our mailing list and get information on also upcoming events. I'm going to be doing some respectful confrontation workshops in Europe as well as in the US, fierce civility workshops in person and also online. Also to keep you updated on, I'm doing a TED Talk, which should be coming out in April or May. So that's which has a lot to do with the work we're doing here. And it's just a good way to keep in touch with what we're doing. Also, if you haven't got a copy of my books yet, Mastering Respectful Confrontation or Fierce Civility, treat yourself. I had one of the greatest comments I got from a client of mine. He says, "Wow, Joe, fierce civility, that's a lot of work." So that's not a great way to promote my book, but it's worth the work, I think. At least I think it is. So thank you all for being here. Let's dedicate the energies that we've generated, to just think about, I always say my favorite phrase is the statistical miracle that these 29 or so people come together, of the 8 billion people on the planet, to hold space together, to resonate with our hearts for the benefit of alleviating the suffering of others and bringing happiness to others. What we've generated has been rippling through the planet, through the World Wide Web. And just direct that energy to where you feel it might be needed. Maybe for yourself in this moment, that you need a little of extra loving energy. People in your life who might be struggling. All the projects you're working on, projects with the Weston Network on our side and Fierce Civility. And particularly to people in the world, and focusing on perhaps the children. May they find their way towards more joy and grounding. Okay, thank you. Feel free to get in touch, send an email if you want to say hi, and look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Stay well, everybody.
Bye, everyone.